Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcast.
Good morning and welcome to an extra brekkie edition of Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast that sounds not unlike a bull tap dancing in a china shop to Motley Crue. And speaking of unlikable, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by the living embodiment of co-hosts should be seen and not heard. It's Evan the Metal Man. Anyways, guess what?
I'm being not heard.
Good boy. We have our first reporter diva in the studio today, and after 20 years of interviewing celebrities, my, how the tables have turned. But don't worry, we'll be nice because we're joined by the friendliest guy in entertainment news with the cleanest record, especially given he started in soap operas before doing the clean and twerk with aerobics 80s style, which led this likable lad to seize the day with a fresh start every morning on breakfast TV, yum, brekkie, in several countries, yum, several brekkies, for which this star jumps from sunrise to sunrise, down under, then up over for GMTV once down under hits sunset. All the while filling those international media award-winning days with appearances on Big Brother's Little Brother, Extra, Hard Copy, Inside Edition, Access Hollywood, Seven's The Morning Show, National Enquirer TV, and more as himself, whilst moonlighting as a cabaret star and actor by appearing in Anything But Love, which is maybe why he played a hustler in Offbeat, plus The Dictator, yum, dictators are my favorite kind of taters, as well as playing Albert for over 220 episodes in The Search for Tomorrow. But today we've found a huge Aussie g'day and a want a cuppa for this curious cat who has interviewed nearly every major star in the morning sky, where he's swept the Oscars red carpet, played with Betty White's puppies, and oh, you got to play with puppies. That's not fair. Oh, wait, where was I? Oh yeah, puppies. So please help me welcome to our castle's torture chamber this inspiring home decorating, marathon running, prolific authoring, personal training icon who has been a fixture on the tally for as long as any of us can remember. But that's just because without this insightful yet intriguing individual, we'd never know what the Kardashians were doing daily. Geez, thanks. So for revenge, we've forced him to listen to heavy metal, flip your pancakes and pop your toast for this Swedish cherry pie serial interviewer who's joining us to cornflakes so we can butter up our favorite American muffin and spill all the hottest tea with the lovably infectious author of Your Home is Your Castle, the king of brekkie, Mr. Nelson Aspen. Yay, welcome to the torture chamber.
Wow.
This is 10 years in the making, people. 10 years ago, I emailed you and I said, can I please interview you? And you said, not yet. 10 years later, we are here.
I think you're ready.
I think I am ready. Thank you so much for joining us.
It wasn't until you used the word muffin to describe me that I decided you're finally ready. But thank you for that amazing introduction.
Yep, no, that's it. That's it. I am trying to outdo myself every week. So how are you going?
Oh, I'm going well, mate. Thank you. That made my face hurt. I'm smiling so hard.
Yep,
So
awesome. And thank you for laughing at my jokes because some of the guests feel like they shouldn't. You totally should, people. Please. I put so much work into them. So thank you. It always makes me feel better. But by the time this airs, I think hopefully on the weekend, you'll be in Australia. But now you're in New York.
Next weekend.
Oh, next weekend.
I can't even understand the itinerary that it requires for me to get from New York City to Perth, Australia. But it's 3 flights, 30 hours. And I decided to take the preemptive strike of sending my luggage ahead because there is no way Qantas and American Airlines are going to be able to get my baggage there. So if I want to have a suit to wear on the telethon, it's on its way right now.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Evan has a sewing machine. I'm sure I could whip you up one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've always said, it's funny you say that about getting to Perth. I've always said the only thing that'd get me to Perth is a kidnapping and $1 million ransom. Anyways.
There's a big bias I have noticed over the years against Perth. All my friends who are in Sydney and Melbourne, they go, oh, Perth, it's so far away. And I'm like, Perth is no further from Sydney than New York is from Los Angeles. And that's a commute I take weekly or twice a month. I mean, it's really not a big deal. I encourage everyone to explore your continent. Just go back and forth. You know what? I have been blissfully ignorant of that over the last 20 years of my association with Australia, because I never know what the hell time it is. I just look in the camera and I say, good morning. It's never morning for me, but it's usually morning for you. So I just smile and say good morning.
Yep, that's it. Well, I nap like a cat, so I have like 3 mornings in a day. So this is technically my afternoon, I think. I don't know. I've had 3 days.
Oh, it's happy hour.
It is happy hour, but I have got a coffee. But anyways, we're going to move on. First off, your book is Your Home is Your Castle, but in music, the dressing room is their castle. So what would be in your ultimate rock star rider? Now, you interviewed everybody. Listeners at home, just type in Nelson Aspen.
I know.
Morning TV and see who exactly Nelson has sat down with. And now he's sitting down with us 2 morons. Poor thing.
No, did I have any specifications for today? I don't see any special colored M&Ms. No. I don't see any fruit basket. I've got nothing here. But no, I'm always just happy to play along. So no, I wouldn't have any riders in my dressing room clause, except for maybe plenty of water and before the show and plenty of wine after the show. And I will say, from my experience with musicians and dressing rooms, this was a long time ago before she hit the zenith of being one of the richest women in the world. But Rihanna left her dressing room in the most god-awful, unclean, inconsiderate state of any star I have ever seen. And that's probably due more to her entourage than to Rihanna herself. But, you know, you're known by the company you keep. So hopefully she has literally cleaned up her act.
Some juicy goss there straight away. I love that. And that's why I keep Evan as company, because he has no other friends. So there's no reputation to then go forth from that.
Yeah, he's right.
Well, okay. Now, have you had any experience with metal or heavy metal, glam metal, new metal? The list goes on.
You know, no. Until you sent me Cherry Pie. Peripherally, you know, I mean, heavy metal's been around almost as long as I've been around. So yes, of course. And, you know, certainly during the school experience, you divide into little cliques. And just like there are separate cliques of people, there are separate cliques of people's music. So while heavy metal wasn't my peer group, it was familiar to me. It's funny, too, while it was never my particular taste in music, certain old songs from my school days do bring on a sense of nostalgia. And I was around at the beginning of MTV, and I remember the video for Cherry Pie. I mean, because it was played so often on MTV. I can only imagine what that young woman looks like nowadays, but God willing, she's still around and healthy and has changed with the times.
And has an open invitation to come on our show, despite what my review may say. So, as you said, we did Warrant's Cherry Pie, which Evan and I went back and forth on deciding. I'll quickly run through this review because it is a tiny bit long, so I'll read it as quickly as I can. When we first decided to do Warrant, it was only so Evan can listen to Cherry Pie for the 9 millionth time. So let's hope it's good, or else there will be a warrant put out for his arrest. Turning on the Spotify, I listened to Cherry Pie once, then moved on to track 2, Uncle Tom's Cabin, which wasn't the elaborate show within show from The King and I, which is lucky given I'd see red, but I saw red did make me see red, well, hear red, when my ears bled from yet another power ballad. A later track, Blind Faith, was possibly the strongest song, but that may because my ears are now filled with blood. All I have is blind faith. Bed of Roses wasn't the Bon Jovi song of the same name, which is lucky given I'd see red from yet another power ballad. She deserves to sleep tonight. Yeah, she does. She's a mother of 7, including her husband, and she works 5 days a week. Let the lady sleep. As the album progressed, on each of my 15 listens, I kept waiting for my cherry pie to pop, but sadly, it overcooked each time. Here we have a hit song, 2 ballads, and Song and Dance Man sounding like a training montage, straight out of Fame the TV series, much like the other upbeat songs on this album. And then it slows down as the budding young star hits the audition room door. I'm inspired. I liked You're the Only Hell Your Mama Ever Raised, and I would know because I'm not. The highlight for me was the ode to Tipper Gore, if only because those lyrics should be read at my funeral. So was the cherry ripe overall? Not really. And even if it is ripe, it didn't taste fresh and moist, just dry and crusty. 1.5, 2 stars, 1.5, 2 stars, 1.5. It was, I don't know. I don't know.
Is that your official rating? That's what you're going to write underneath is.
Yeah, it's just gonna be just a line, a squiggly line. I don't know. I listened to it so much, and not once did it ever take me anywhere.
Didn't get nostalgic for cherry pie at all.
I did not get nostalgic for cherry pie. Now, Nelson, I know you gave it a listen. So how did you go?
When you said you heard I saw red, your ears bled, I kind of will go with that. But yeah, I sort of just put it on and went and I did some housework. So there were parts I missed when I was running the vacuum cleaner and I had to go out and take the trash out. So I did, I didn't hear every bit of it.
Oh, I envy you. Oh, I'm so jealous.
I look back on things like Aerosmith. I can look at that more fondly and nostalgically. This Warrant isn't really nostalgic to me, but it propels me to think of things that would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, Evan, I know we had discussed this album and trying to decide on a good album that wasn't going to scare poor Nelson away. So why did you settle with this one?
Purely on the popularity of the single of Cherry Pie. And I foolishly thought that the rest of the album might be just as good, but it wasn't. The songwriting's quite cringy. There's some really dumb lyrics all the way through it.
Pretty standard. I think the most exciting part was the swearing.
Yeah, which got cut out because it got refused to be put on the shelves because there were so many Fs in it. They actually released a cut version as a CD to put on Walmart shelves. And it turns out in my research that Cherry Pie itself, like they'd finished the album, they were like, we're done. This is the album. And the label has gone, no, you need an anthem in there. You need to write something. You need a rock anthem. And they basically banged out Cherry Pie, in 15 minutes. And it turned out, one of their biggest hits. But if you go into the album thinking there's going to be a couple of other Cherry Pies in there, there's not. And I've been listening to other albums and they don't sound anything like that. They don't sound anything like that song.
You're listening to Evan right now, and he's obviously regretting his choice.
Yep.
At the time, I tried to tell him, I don't care if a song is popular. I can get better jokes out of this other album. But he insisted.
Which was the other album?
Oh, no, that was Europe, wasn't it?
That
We're
was
looking at
Europe.
two different Europe. And you want to do one with the final countdown on it, but I'm looking at a different one going, the jokes are good on this one. I can make jokes out of this one. This one speaks to me without even hearing it. I knew instinctively this would be a good one to do, but no, my co-host insisted we do Cherry Pie.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, Nelson.
I listened around to the rest of the discography of Warrant, and even there's a new album. I mean, the lineup has completely changed, and I was meaning to look up who's actually left because the singer's died. Singer died in 2016, 2011, something like that. But I listened to their latest album as well, and it pretty much sounds the same. Like, I can't tell who's missing. There's a new singer, there's a new everybody. Bass player and guitarist, I think, are the only two left. They've gone through multiple drummers. They obviously had to get a new singer. The singer came and went over the years. They've had reunions and broke up again. But yeah, the new album still sounds very much the same as their first couple.
Oh, we won't do them again then.
No.
Other bands I'm happy to revisit. We won't cover these.
No, I was disappointed, really. I was expecting more metal, and it was all, melodic ballads and acoustic guitars and, Baby I Love Yous type stuff.
Yeah, I don't need any more power ballads.
I know, the whole thing was power ballads. And it sucks because they hit Cherry Pie first song. You go, yes, give me more of that. And you don't get it. Kind of annoying.
Yeah, having two songs that are named after other songs was a bit annoying.
Yeah, well, Uncle Tom's Cabin was supposed to be the single. Well, it did get released as a single, but that was going to be the name of the album as well.
Blind Faith was probably better than I Saw Red. Was that the ballad?
Yeah, Blind Faith was a single and power ballad.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the fourth single. Oh, back when people used to release more than a couple singles off an album.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Game of War. That was in Bill and Ted. It wasn't on the soundtrack, but it was in the film.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I had read that on Wikipedia, which is clearly your source. It's very training montage all the way through. It's either, yeah, we're training to win, or I love you. There didn't really feel like any in-betweens. And as I've commented on so many times on this show, that the stories, the storytelling, the interesting dark topics are fun and interesting, and they're unique, and they make a better song. Doesn't matter if it's a ballad or a hard song or an angry, aggressive song, because it is about interpretation there. But when you've only really got those two styles, which a lot of hair bands or hair metal bands or from that era were like that, which is why Guns N' Roses became so big, because they didn't have two tones. Metallica as well, in their way, when they would do something like Nothing Else Matters, there would always be a darkness behind it, a yearning. It would be something that would reach the audience. I didn't hear that in this. I didn't hear that in either I Saw Red or Blind Faith. I mean, I heard that, oh yeah, I love you, or whatever, standing out in the rain in his acid wash jeans and his white shirt that's ripped open.
Now, did you watch the video for Cherry Pie?
Bobby Brown's in it.
Who Janie Lane married.
Yes, I did watch it.
Yeah, well, that's a classic video as well. But actually, one thing annoyed me about this album, there's track 8 was Song and Dance Man.
Okay, yeah.
You listen to the last album, which is 2017. There's a song called Music Man where he says, I'm a song and dance man. And I was like, hang on, I just heard this song. It's the same song again 30 years later.
Did it warrant a sequel? No. But yeah, so do you have an apology for Nelson?
Yeah, I should have chosen something actually metal.
Something actually good.
Something actually good. There was some, predictable key changes and cringy lyrics.
Yeah.
I was like, bugger.
It sort of felt like they were giving the audience what they thought the audience wanted, because that's what everyone was listening to at the time. But it's like with films, it's like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is working because they're doing it and they're doing it really well. But then all these other studios come out, look at our cinematic universe, and they're not doing well. They're not succeeding. Even the DCEU is struggling and swimming against the current, because people seem to want and like what Marvel are doing. They don't need it from everyone else. That's the thing.
No.
You had Deep Impact and an Armageddon, but if we had had 4 or 5 other comets hitting the Earth movies, by the third one, we would have been like, no, that's fine. We liked Armageddon. We like Deep Impact. They were similar but different enough. We don't need everyone else doing it. So
yeah,
cashing in on what is popular, I don't think necessarily works all the time, because what you're producing ultimately ends up pretty substandard.
Well, and you see with DC, there was a period there where they seemed to be going, all right, Marvel's got their universe, we're going to build our own, and didn't really do it very well, and they just threw Justice League at you, and now they seem to have abandoned it and go, no, like Joker was a hit, didn't need to be part of a universe. Batman's, let's just keep making Batman films that don't really have to have anything to do with the previous ones or the other films. We're quite happy with standalone Batmans. We're happy with standalone Jokers. Just, do what works. Do what, obviously the money shows what's working and what isn't.
Yeah, but their money, not someone else's money. That's the thing. Studios and musicians and all that, you can't look at what someone else is doing and say, oh, well, I want to do it as well and cash in on that, because you are just getting a substandard product. Audiences are also far too smart these days that we are seeing through things. The same with music. When there hasn't been a boy band in 10 years, suddenly one comes out, it's really popular, and then you get 50 copycats. But people won't like what the 50 copycats are doing because they liked what they were given the first time. That, they liked what one studio or one band was doing. So what's good for the goose ain't always good for the gander. So artists and studios, musicians, worry about yourselves. And I think that's where they went wrong. That's the point of all this, was they were trying to sound like what was popular at the time, and it became a one-hit album. And even then, I listened to that one song once, as I said, and every other listen, I skipped it.
And skip Cherry Pie.
I skipped Cherry Pie. because I was rebelling against you, Evan,
Yep.
for making me listen to this album purely for one song. And do you think maybe by bands and filmmakers, artists in general, going with the latest trend, putting out something that they think people want to hear is possibly ruining that artistic integrity in a way? It's putting out a standard product instead of a quality one.
Yeah, artistic integrity might be an oxymoron when you're talking about that. That's kind of like a 1980s, early 90s version of social media influencing. If you're just trying to follow a trend, really that's no different than all the Kardashian copycats. Because say what you will about the Kardashians, at least they were the first. And everyone that has sort of followed them is doing what you're claiming they're doing. They're just trying to cash in on a trend, and you can't fault them. Some get lucky, some don't.
Yeah. That's it. It is a 50-50 gamble that some do get lucky, some don't, and put all that money in and all that work in. And 30 years later, we're sitting here on this podcast going,
Here we are.
It just, yeah.
Yeah, in Warrant's defense, like you listen to this album, the first couple albums, and like they're still going now. And I've listened to the last two as well. In the 90s, they did sort of do a grunge, what everyone else was listening to type album, and yeah, it didn't work. And they went back to this is what they sound like normally, apart from Cherry Pie, because Cherry Pie is the outlier. The rest of the album, that's Warrant, and that's what they sound like now, even though they've had multiple lineup changes. Do
you mean now, as in 2022?
Yes, yeah, they're still going. Their latest album was 2017, so it's only 5 years ago. They're still around. They're still playing. Many lineup.
Wow,
changes.
Where do they play? Where are they?
I would have to look up tour schedules, but I'm sure they made a living out of it, and they're still going. They have their fans.
Just to jump in there, Blink-182 just announced they're releasing a new song, a new album, and a world tour with the original, not original because Scott Rayner's not in it, but the classic lineup.
Oh, nice.
With Tom DeLonge back. Oh, what? Oh my God. Okay, anyways, I just have to move on.
But they're not coming to Perth.
So I would have found that out on Sunrise in the morning, but Nelson's not on the show anymore, so I had to find out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm on a pop culture fast. It's really kind of marvelous. I do not have to any longer keep up with the Kardashians.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I envy you so much because even if I'm not keeping up with anything, I still know what's going on for some reason. Anyways.
Again, I was disappointed. Like, the rest of the album is what they sound like. If you listen to all their other albums, they sound like the rest of Cherry Pie's album without Cherry Pie. That is really a one-off that was just thrown in, and that's not what they sound like.
Was it Bed of Roses that started off with sort of an acoustic guitar? No, it was the Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that first started off, I thought, oh, okay, cool. We'll maybe we'll go into that vibe that Metallica will suddenly go into with Nothing Else Matters. No, it didn't happen.
And the next song is acoustic guitar, and the next song is acoustic guitar, and yeah.
But anyways, it looks like Jason Biggs got to the Cherry Pie. So we're going to go to an ad break.
Hey there, it's time to get popped on Culture, the official Puzzle Hub pop quiz podcast, and welcome to game number 5. I'm your new host, Matt Young, and for today's special theme, we're going to test your knowledge on musical groups, including bands, boy bands, girl groups, and vocal ensembles. Play against your friends or the clock and see how you go. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Game 1, songs in the key of words. I'm going to give you 3 key words that appear within 8 different songs. Pretty simple. If you guess the song correctly on the first keyword, give yourself 3 points. If you guess it on the second, give yourself 2 points, which of course means give yourself 1 for guessing it on the third and final keyword. So let's see how you go. Ready? First clue. Fantasy. Landslide. Reality. That was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Second clue. Lights. Carrie. Home. course, that's All the Small Things by Blink-182. Next up, Valentino, Crystal, Italian. That's right, it was Manic Monday by the Bangles. I was kissing Valentino by a crystal blue Italian stream. Alrighty, fourth, Picked, Bunch, Glance. I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. How are you going so far? Next up, Lady, Glitters, Buying. Have a Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Lonely, Gazing, Window. That one was a little bit hard for me, but that was Waterfalls by TLC. Here's our seventh clue. Walked, Smile, Cool. Of course, that was Stop by Spice Girls. And lastly, Honey, Bees, Envy. My Girl by The Temptations. And time's up. How did you go in that round? And be sure to check out our other shows on the Bloop Network, especially Thrash and Treasure, where you'll hear incredible interviews with genuine icons of stage and screen. So until the next game, I've been Matt, you've been Popped on Culture, and I shall see you next time. See ya!
Anyways, you're listening to Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by author, singer, actor, entertainment reporter, and fitness guru, Nelson Aspen. What? A fixture of our Brecky TVs for 19 and a half years, which makes my eye twitch. Could you not finish the 20, Nelson?
They wouldn't let me get to 20. No, 19 and a half was enough. I had other things to do. And it was, I worked right through COVID, through the magic of my phone, without ever taking a break for close to 150 weeks without a break. I'm not complaining. I was grateful for the job, but it wears you down.
Yeah, I can imagine. Especially you have a history of doing marathons, and I'm sure that
COVID was a marathon.
Yeah, that's it. Anyways, you just done recent shows at the Green Room 42. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah.
Will there be more?
Another one of your esteemed guests or guests to be, Craig Bierko. He's the guy who introduced me to Green Room 42.
Yeah.
I went there to see a show that he and his then partner were doing. It is a gorgeous venue. I've been knocking around New York City music venues since the early 80s. And this is really the most beautiful. It has seats about 150 people. It's right in the heart of Times Square in the Great White Way, and just magnificent. And I wanted to do a show skewed around my new book, Your Home is Your Castle, and it was amazing because the book surprised me. I didn't, I just did the book. All of a sudden, it debuted at #1 on Amazon's home renovation and remodel charts. I'm like, wow, I better capitalize on this. I'll create a musical show around the book. Telling songs and stories and showbiz stuff that are skewed to celebrities and homes. The whole aspect of your home is your castle, or home is where the heart is, etc. And it was very successful, all sold out. I'm heading to Perth as we discussed, and I'm going to do a private concert in Perth, sort of a mini version of the show, and then I'll come back to Los Angeles and head to LA when I get back to the States and do the show out there as we get ready for Oscar time. And I'll be boning up on all my award show information.
Yep. Please print off some invites to this podcast for the Oscars red carpet and slip it into a few pockets. That'd be greatly appreciated. Because
you got it.
Thank you very much. Anyways, we're going to move on to the boyfriend. I've just got a couple of notes on the boyfriend. I have no prior knowledge. I knew it existed. I knew Sandy Wilson wrote it. I had no idea what it was about. The only thing I knew was that my local theatre company had done it. Someone I was once friends with was in it, and they told me it was a 3-act show, so I never got to see it. Absolutely nothing. This was a brand new experience for me. And there's a couple of cute songs. Sur la plage, everyone looks the same. That's catchy, and I found myself singing that a lot. And then I found myself thinking about how everyone should shave their hair, but then how everyone would look the same. And I would probably hate everyone because we all look the same. So, and sur la plage means on the beach. It doesn't mean like, whatever you thought it might have meant. I don't know what you may have thought it meant.
Again, it's a hard one to glean the story out of just by listening to the music.
Yeah, I had no idea it was like an identity crisis until the end of it when he's like, it's really me. And he rips off the mustache or whatever he did. And she's like, oh, it's really you. I knew all along.
Well, it was a masquerade ball.
Oh, what's that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think according to Wiki, the whole premise is that she's concocted an imaginary boyfriend.
Oh, I did that once.
Because she needs someone to go to the ball with, and then ends up falling in love with a delivery boy. So it's sort of a classist type story where you've got a rich girl falling in love with someone beneath her.
Yeah. And
then she lies and says that she's not rich so that, he can accept her, I guess. But my problem with the story, spoilers, I don't think you can spoil something that came out in 1954, but the fact that the delivery boy was rich.
Oh, it's Joe Millionaire.
And it's like, it's okay. We're both rich and we can be together. I'm like, oh, good on you.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a little bit put my nose out of joint at the end. It's like, it's not
it's not
I was
Notting
expecting.
Hill.
Yeah, I was expecting a story of, they can be together even though they're from different worlds or whatever. It's like, oh, yeah, what do you know? They're both rich and everything's fine. They're allowed to be together. I don't know.
Now, can I quickly jump in there? When I said just before that I did that once, as in making up a boyfriend, I didn't make up a boyfriend. I was 15 years old and I had run away from home previously and become a born-again Christian, as I've talked about on this show. And then over the months, I stayed with that Christian church, obviously, but they had prayed the gay out of me, but I knew I was. And I wanted to go there, stay there, go to church. Because it's on the other side of the city where my church friends were. But I had a friend who was staying here for a couple of nights, right? Because it was the school holidays. And with her permission, it wasn't just something that, I just said, but we lied to them and said that she was my girlfriend.
Right.
Because obviously I didn't want to have to sit at a bucket again and cough into a bucket with them praying the gay out of me, praying the demons out of me while I coughed up blood into a bucket. It was awful the first time. I didn't want to do it again. Plain and simply. So
what church is this?
Christian church, born again Christian church, right? And anyway, so we went up there and they didn't believe it. They pulled her, this poor girl, Lauren, her name was. And Lauren, you're not going to hear this, but I'm going to send it to your cousin. And I want you to know I am so sorry. I really am so sorry that you got caught up in some 15-year-old gay kid's torment. You poor thing got dragged off into a room where they convinced it out of her, or they tricked her into admitting that we weren't really boyfriend and girlfriend, because we'd like hold hands, but we weren't kissing or anything like that. Yeah, so they didn't buy it, and that was stupid of me.
Well, they didn't have faith in their methods, obviously.
No, and I didn't have faith in myself either. So again, Lauren, I am so sorry from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you laugh about it today and that you're not angry at me for that, because I was just a child, a lost, lonely child. And this podcast has really very much been about me opening up and being raw about the stupid things that I have done in my life and the stupid person that I am. So I just have to throw that in there.
and trying to convince born again Christians
that I was straight. Yes, they were not buying it at all.
Wow. You need to write a book about this.
Well, after that, I became a punk with a mohawk, piercings, I had tattoos, all that jazz. So
they prayed the gay all the way out, turned you into a punk.
Yeah.
I tried that. I had a similar experience with after school. I was such a nebbishy, nerdy, awkward misfit kind of a character that I went in the other direction with the leather and the mullet. And like I was like a glam rocker myself. I was trying my best anyway to pass myself off as that. But Adam Ant was my inspiration.
Adam Ant's still cool.
Adam Ant is still cool.
Damn straight.
And who's the other one? I want to say, is it Gary Kemp? Am I thinking of the right one? The Kemp, Martin Kemp, the handsome. He's white hair now. That was my whole scene. I liked Duran Duran, Blow Monkeys. That was my kind of hair band. Oh, I loved Erasure.
Handel Ballet.
That's it.
Awesome. Anyways, okay, so we got The Boyfriend.
Yeah, okay. It's like I said, I think this suffers from age.
Yep.
It's just so very dated. And I mean, when it was written, the Roaring '20s wasn't that long ago.
No, it was only 30 years before. Not that long ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an audience thing, I guess. You're making music for an audience. Generally the theatre going audience, I assume in the 50s was your older population who grew up or were teenagers in the Roaring '20s. So it was, I could see the appeal there. But now, oh God, I don't know. I was listening to it literally going, what am I listening to? And I having to check the years. I'm like, 89? How is this 89? Like,
it's not 89. No.
It's not. It's
That's
54.
when the CD was released.
Oh, look, it's hard to have sympathy for rich children. I'll just say that. and any kid who grew up without ever having to worry about paying a bill. Yeah, well, there's a difference between rich kids and rich and famous kids.
Yeah,
as well. There's that 1% of the population who were just born rich and have never had to worry about jack.
Yeah,
and it's and then they found love with another rich kid. Like, whatever. I don't care about your rich kid lives. Couldn't give a shit. And the one song that did sort of raise an eyebrow was "It's Never Too Late to Fall in Love." Again, not being able to see a production, like who I was sitting there going, who's singing this?
Yeah.
What kind of age difference? What's the dynamic here? Like Lord Brockhurst? Like, how old are you?
Yeah. Well, he's the Lord. He might be 60 plus.
Yeah. And
played by 40-year-olds in the show.
And I didn't have any context for the song, and it's just sort of going, this is a bit weird, even though, it's 1954. Yeah, the voice was grating in that as well, whoever thought she was.
The Boyfriend, because I know this was one of your favorite musicals, I believe, Nelson, when I'd asked you for a list.
Yeah, it was, it's a sentimental favorite. It's certainly not the best Broadway musical, but it's a sentimental favorite because it was my first musical that I ever did, and I would love to do it again if there's any touring company or bus and truck production. I'm old enough now to play the father. So, but yeah, I just have a great affection for the satire, the style of music, and the sweetness of the story.
So I don't know it.
Okay.
So I didn't know it was satirical, and I don't think Evan did either.
It is a spoof.
Oh, is it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how much does the 1971 movie differ from what you would see on stage?
The movie is atrocious. Although it's Ken somebody was the director of it. And Twiggy and Tommy Toon were in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a visual treat if you're on drugs.
Oh yeah, it's something, isn't it? There's a lot of money and a lot of time.
It's kind of, if you're like doing mushrooms, I mean, it might be kind of fun to watch. There's really only a couple of the songs preserved in it, and it has none of the satirical aspect in the film. But yeah. But it was the Broadway debut of Julie Andrews. It's the show that made her a star, not My Fair Lady, The Boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she's directed productions of it since, in her later years. So it's very dear to her heart. And I've interviewed Julie 8 times, and we always talk about The Boyfriend. It's a sentimental favorite for her as well.
Yeah, that's another pocket you can slip an invite into.
That's a shame because I spent all day watching the movie and just
sorry,
and just having my mind blown and going, what am I watching?
Oh, now I want to.
There are some really interesting directorial choices in that film.
Oh, is there?
It is something. It really is.
Now I've got to figure out who I'm gonna. Ken Russell. That's who directed the 1971 film.
Of course. Who did Tommy? Ken Russell.
Very different films.
Yes, very different. Still a trip.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I didn't see it. I can Charleston. I used to know how to Charleston when I was 12.
There you go.
We did Bugsy Malone and had to learn how to Charleston in our 12-year-old way. So it wasn't really Charleston.
The musical was written in 1953, and so the 1971 film. I mean, it was a spoof, even in the 50s, of the 1920s and the simplicity and the musical structure. I mean, there was a point to its story, its music, even the casting, and having Julie Andrews, sweet as pie, the angelic ingenue beauty. Even the casting was satirical.
Yeah, no, I didn't pick any of that up. I didn't even know it was an identity thing, as I said earlier. I didn't know until the very end.
I did so wish there was a 1954 pro shot. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Oh, wow. Now, it's so interesting that you mentioned Craig Bierko, which, spoiler alert, listeners, we've got the Craig Bierko coming up on our show for episode 76 to do The Music Man, because I said all along episode 76 has to be The Music Man with an epic guest. And I somehow got my way. I don't know how, but so listen out look out for that episode coming up in a few weeks' time. Oh, okay, that's it. We're doing The Music Man, which is also a 54 musical. And it's interesting, and that's more timely now than ever.
The Music Man it's a good story.
We'll find out your response of what you thought about that. So you didn't think this was a good story?
No, the story put my nose out of joint.
But it's just so weird that you brought him up, and we just happened to have you guys 2 episodes apart or whatever, and 54 musicals.
And I just went and saw Hugh in The Music Man on Broadway. I wanted to see him before it closed, and he's Hugh Jackman. What more can you say?
Yeah, so it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toe-tapping crowd pleaser, and they let you drink when you go to a Broadway show. So you get the big giant sippy cup, and you have like 3 bottles of wine in 1 cup.
Yeah,
it lasts you the whole show.
Now, did they say hussy
in The Music Man?
Yeah, in Shapoopy, because apparently they cut it out.
They did. They changed. It's a very 2022 production.
Oh, really?
It's pretty politically correct.
What's the point of Drag Race?
You don't want to offend anybody.
What's the point of Drag Race, Nelson? What is the point? RuPaul is trying.
But they still said Shapoopy.
Yeah, goodness gracious me. But anyways, it looks like the boyfriend broke up with me for Jason Biggs. Well, we're 0 for 2. We'll be back after this message. G'day, listeners. Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistantales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away, and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through, or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction. You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive? No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice? Toniston goes on to explain his theory. That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut. What are you trying to say? I think something happened when everyone's back was turned. Like what? Whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. I don't know. That's what we've got to find out. Toniston's brain starts working overtime, but it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns? Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks, I don't know, Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. Come, he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. Is that spiderweb? Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Anyways, you're listening to Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by the most affable gent, Mr. Nelson Aspen. Now, I've just got a few questions, quite a few, because this is 10 years in the making, so try to get through as many as I can. If you could change one major thing about this press junket business, because this is something we don't have to do. We get to sit down with our guests and chat for an hour or two with them and have a little bit of freedom there. If you could change something and shake it up, the press junket game, what would you change?
It's a new thing that I would change. I was very contentedly, merrily, happily, successfully going on my way, traveling the world to interview celebrities until COVID. And they figured out a way, Zoom, to fix that. And as grateful as I am that I was able to keep my job and keep interviewing people. And in a strange, I write about this in my book, Your Home is Your Castle, also because the Zoom thing really saved the business in many ways. I mean, we're speaking now via Zoom, but the Zoom enabled the machine to keep going. People were able to earn money. People were able to promote their films. And in some ways, the celebrities themselves were more at ease and more comfortable because they were in the comfort of their own homes. They were isolated. They didn't have to take selfies or shake hands. So the Zoom worked out well for the celebrities a lot of time. But for those of us who were asking the questions, it was the beginning of the end for me because it's like a sausage factory. There are a lot of elements to press junkets that are like a sausage factory anyway. There's a very assembly line quality to it. It can be, unless you're clever enough or special enough to make original kinds of interviews, which I've always prided myself on. But Zoom, I'm sorry, I think 9 times out of 10, unless you have extraordinary talent on both sides of the Zoom, it sucks. Yep. It just sucks.
Yeah. Well, we have been very lucky so far, Nelson, I tell you that. How often did you feel the falseness in terms of the standard questions that would be asked and the answers given, knowing that people had spoken to 20 other people? before that?
Oh, well, never from mine. And,
Yeah.
because regardless of like, I knew that I would have to ask at least one question that would be quote unquote generic. I mean, you have to, and that's why you're there. You're there to promote something. But usually, because of my history in the business, I've been in show business for 40 years more. I started when I was 8. I'm 59 now. So I've been in the business forever. And it is my ability to be 1 degree of separation from anybody I'm speaking to, that if you're sitting down, you're getting mic'd up. That's another thing you don't get with Zoom. You don't get all that setup time. So you're sitting down there and you go, oh, hey, yeah, I know your chef. Oh, yeah, I know your trainer. Oh, yeah, I slept with your cousin. There was always a degree of separation that doesn't exist in Zoom. And that personalizes the conversation. So yeah, then you ask your generic question and they know, at least in my case, they can trust me.
Yeah.
They can open up with something personal. And you get some publicist in there who will say, you can't ask so-and-so about this or that. Don't ask any questions about their dog, their child, their girlfriend, their mother, whatever. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And you're signing your life away. But if you have the trust, just from that few seconds or minute of pre-interview conversation, they trust you, and you know what? They're going to bring it up themselves.
Yep.
I'm always like, don't worry, I'm not going to ask anything uncomfortable. They're going to tell me themselves.
Yep.
I interviewed Ryan Reynolds like 1,000 times, and it was always a pleasure. And then, I don't know, the last time they said they wanted to see, and he was, I don't know, I don't even know what the project was. It was nothing special. And they said they wanted to see my questions in advance. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. After, like, I don't even know what they're going to be in advance. I'm just having a conversation. Okay, yeah, but they insisted on it. They wouldn't give me the interview unless I wrote the questions in advance. So I wrote them in advance, and then when I went in for the interview, I sat and I read them off the piece of paper exactly as I had written them. So what are you going to do?
That's it. That's throwing shade. So I've done that once with our first guest, Alison Fraser, and that was more me doing it to say, this is a sign of trust. Like, this is what I plan on asking. So
fair enough.
Because we were 6 episodes. We had aired 5 of them, I think, at the time. And she was the 7th episode. So
well, I'll give you some names of some of my high school friends so you can have them on.
Yeah.
It's all about who you know.
It is, isn't it? Like, we got Kirk Thatcher, Muppets director, from asking one of his best friends on the show. So it is all who you know.
Degrees of separation.
Yep. Now, did you ever get sick of asking about Marvel movies?
Yes, because I'm a DC fan.
Oh no! I'm sorry, folks. That's it for today. Oh wow!
Tattoo, just so you guys could see it.
That is cool.
Oh, and I've got Aquaman on my leg.
Oh wow! You know what? I would not pick you the type for tattoos, Nelson. I don't know why. That's no offense.
Covered.
Or wow, that's cool. Awesome. So I would have picked Evan to be the type, but
he's on the side of the Dark Knight. No, I'm Marvel all the way. X-Men.
No, for tattoos, but you only just recently got your first.
Yeah, I would. If I did, it would be 2000 AD. It'd be a British comic.
Okay, yeah, Judge Dredd. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd get like Nemesis the Warlock on my shoulder.
I'm gonna steal both of your lunch money. Anyways, what cinema opened your eyes and swept you away as a kid?
Hence the tattoo on my leg. It's a tribute to Irwin Allen's 1972 disaster epic, The Poseidon Adventure. And one of my standard songs that I sing.
Yep.
Go on YouTube and click, write in Nelson Aspen, The Morning After, and there I am singing The Morning After. Carol Lindley, who played Nani and sang the song, she became a lifelong friend. She was my favorite movie star. She changed my life. The Poseidon Adventure turned me on to my past lives. I died on an ocean liner in a past life. Like, it just goes on and on and on and on. But it was definitely the Poseidon Adventure. Anytime I come across it, no matter where it is in the film, and I know every frame of the film, I'm glued until the final credits. It is definitely my number one of all time.
I thoroughly agree with that.
Yeah. There was that Shelley
Shelley Winters
Yeah.
was nominated for an Oscar
nominated, not
for
won.
playing Belle Rosen. She gained a lot of no, she did not win.
Yeah.
She gained a lot of weight for that role because the character in the book by Paul Gallico was written as a very obese woman. She put on a lot of weight, and she famously complained after that she was never able to lose the weight she gained for the film.
Oh, bugger. I've mentioned her, I think, a couple last episode. I brought her up with slamming the Oscars on the desk saying, "There's my audition."
She was a tough cookie. I used to see her in LA.
Yeah.
She held court at a coffee shop in West Hollywood, and all the gay boys in West Hollywood would gather around Shelley to listen to her stories.
Oh, wow. Goodness gracious me. Okay, now you've spent 2 decades or more than 2 decades interviewing every single goddamn celebrity known to man. So at the end of the day,
Not Madonna.
Oh, not Madonna?
No, never Madonna. Guy Ritchie a couple times.
Yeah.
He's hotter than she is anyway.
Yeah, that's all right. I haven't interviewed Madonna either, so don't feel bad. But okay, nearly every celebrity except the Queen of England and the Queen of Pop. So at the end of the day, at a hot summer's day, sitting out on your balcony, who is Nelson Aspen? What grinds your gears and what goes through your mind on the end of a hot summer's day?
Oh, I'm a hot summer mess. No, I'm a very high energy. I'm a morning person. I wake up before the sun every morning. I like to watch the sunrise. We built our dream home where I'm talking to you from specifically so that we have these unbelievable views of the sunrise and the sunset every single day. So those are the two most important moments of my day. I'm a morning person, even though I was talking to Australian morning television when it was not morning for me.
No.
I live in a perpetual state of mourning. And I don't mean morning with an OU. I mean morning is in woohoo, good morning.
Yeah.
I'm a very hyperactive, high energy, sensitive guy. I take things personally. I think it's why I pride myself on being a nice guy and being a gentleman, because criticism, I take it very hard. Because I was bullied in school, I can't take being bullied as an adult, and I have managed to keep my nose clean because I just don't think I'm provocative. I use my brain to create interesting interviews, not controversial interviews. I'm not out to get anybody. I don't want to scoop. I don't need a scoop. I'd rather have an interesting conversation. That's who I am as a professional. That's who I am as a person. If you come over, we're going to have an interesting conversation, and I will ply you with your choice of beverages. But I'll tell you, there are some very, very famous young people whom I have grown to really care about through multiple interviews and seeing them. Young people seem to change faster than those of us over 40. People in their 20s change constantly. And I've done a zillion interviews with the likes of Camila Cabello or who's her ex-boyfriend? Shawn Mendes, Miley Cyrus, and those are exceptions. They're such smart, talented, and often kind people. Very impressive, very impressive. I like to say they're old souls because they don't seem to get influenced by the craziness of fame.
Yep. Okay, well, while we're on younger people, if 10-year-old Nelson suddenly popped out of a time portal, a DC Flash time portal, not a Marvel Ant-Man one, what advice?
Could this be an alternate Earth so it doesn't matter?
Silver Age Flash, Jay Garrick, or Golden Age Flash, Barry Allen. Okay, I got you. 10-year-old Nelson, what?
Whichever one was John Wesley's ship.
Oh, another pal from my old soap opera days.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Don't tell him I said that then. Okay. What advice would he give you? 10-year-old Nelson pops up. What advice would he say to you? Nelson, you got to remember this.
That's really interesting. It's funny. I'm going to be very diplomatic, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I will, for reasons I can't explain.
Yep, no, that's fine.
10-year-old would say, your parents are always right.
Yep.
I believed that when I was 10. I didn't believe it as an adult. And now, the older I'm getting, and now that my parents are gone, my parents were always right.
Yep. Oh, there you go. Well, that's because you don't live in this house, Nelson. Because
Are your
me.
parents there?
Yes. Yes. And
Yes.
my dad's 82, an 82 British-born
Yeah.
Australian naval son.
Enjoy every minute you
Yes.
have with
Yeah.
him.
It's actually been
Yeah.
quite peaceful with him. Anyways, it's October. So when was the last time you screamed during a horror movie?
Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a screamer. I will confess, if something looks like it's going to happen, when the build up to the scary thing happens, I just close my eyes
Yeah.
and wait it out.
Yep.
So I don't know, but I was funny. I was just talking about this yesterday on somebody posted a color photograph from behind the scenes of Night of the Living Dead.
Nice.
And I had to comment on it saying and it was an amazing color photo of the cast looking like real normal people and not zombies. And I have such vivid recollections of that being the first horror movie I ever saw. My parents took me to the drive-in, and we were at the drive-in watching Night of the Living Dead. And my parents were like, "Oh shoot, we shouldn't have brought the kids to this. It's too scary." And I loved it, and I was obsessed, and still am, with that film, and loved cemeteries. And I would take picnics into the cemeteries. I'm obsessed with ghouls, and I love that stuff. It is still my favorite horror movie of all time, Night of the Living Dead, the original George Romero version.
Yeah,
seen it.
Oh,
Definitely.
awesome.
Yeah, you're not alive if you haven't seen that.
Yeah, I've got it on DVD. If you're talking to me there, or our listeners at home, you better have. But have you ever been to a screening at the Hollywood Forever?
Yes, I have.
Oh, have you?
Yes,
Oh,
I
wow.
have. I've also
Love to-
gone and done rubbings of the tombstones. I've spent a lot of time in the Forest Lawn Cemetery in Hollywood for news stories. Like, whenever I think Michael Jackson ended up being buried there, and I was standing out in the sun for 3 days for that, reporting.
Oh God, yeah, that was a circus.
Michael Jackson kept me on the road for about a year and a half.
Oh God, and he wasn't even alive.
It never bothered me when he was alive.
Yeah, goodness me. Okay, now in your latest book, Your Home is Your Castle, what could Evan do to liven up that drab Summer of Sam background that he has?
I don't know. I'm pretty impressed with his tools, and they're very neatly organized, and they're.
Sorry, I took that the wrong way.
Well, that's what that was bleeds into my question about the book. Like, how handy do you have to be? Are we talking, shears, pelmets, and drapes, or are we talking knocking down walls?
You obviously have not purchased the book yet. You have to get onto Amazon and get yourself a copy of the book, because I am not a design expert. What I am is a home owner and an interviewer. And so the whole book is not me preaching about what to do or not to do. It's what I have learned through my experience of building my own dream home, and the professionals that I've hired to bring in and help me. And it's not about being fancy. It's just about blooming where you're planted and making the most of the things you like and love and need, especially post-COVID. If you're going to have to work from home, if you're going to have to teach your kids school from home, if you're going to work out and exercise at home, your home is not just the place where you eat and sleep. Now it's this whole other world where you have to accomplish all these other things. And I know for so many years, DIY was a thing, do it yourself. And all the TV shows are DIY. And I'm starting a new genre, HAP, hire a professional. That's what I want to do. I want to do a show where I take you, somebody like Evan is like, what do I do with my tool shed? I've got to make it a functioning podcast studio. Well, I'm going to bring in the professional team to figure out how to make it work for you. Maybe it's the tool shed on one side and the podcast studio on the other. Whatever you're doing is great for now, but it has to be a place where you can bloom.
Yeah, he is usually inside with a arcade machine behind him that he built himself.
Wow.
I have an office set up. I'm just
just not there today.
I'm actually upholstering some furniture at the moment.
Oh, are you? Oh, is that why you sound high?
Yeah, well, I've quit my job to build furniture. I'm building a window seat.
Yeah.
So yeah.
A good upholsterer is very hard to find. That is an art form. That is not something you want to DIY.
No. Now, who would be in your VH1 Divas Live?
Oh, of course, Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Bonnie Raitt.
Oh, wow. That's a good choice. And a new one.
And Miley Cyrus. Yeah, why not Miley Cyrus? And, ever since she started doing her talk show, Kelly Clarkson has lost a little bit of her musical mojo, I think, but she's got it. She's tremendous. And I think we just know her now as the squeaky clean talk show host. But she's a badass.
Yeah, that My December album is fantastic. I always say that. Anyways, lastly, a childhood memory that still makes you laugh today.
Laugh or cringe. Well, the first time I met my favorite movie star, Carol Lindley, who sang The Morning After and The Poseidon Adventure, I was in love with her beyond words, and I was 14 years old, and my mom brought me to New York City to see her in a Broadway show, and we waited outside the stage door for her to emerge, and it was a cloudy day, and my mother had the camera, and cameras back in those days in the 70s had a flash cube that turned on the top of the camera, and she shoved me toward Carol Lindley to take the photo, and the bulb didn't flash and it didn't turn, and it was a cloudy day. And when we waited for the pictures to come back from the developer, which is what you did in those days, all you saw were two silhouettes, and it broke my heart because I didn't have the photographic evidence that I had met my favorite movie star. A year later, I was sitting having lunch with Carol Lindley. I was 15 years old. 200 pounds with a giant afro Brady Bunch kind of hairdo. And we became lifelong friends until her passing, I think in 2019. So we had this marvelous journey together, Carol and I. And her body of work, there's some real stinkers, but she did some beautiful films as well. So she's another one worth Googling, Carol Lindley.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Oh, lovely. What a shame the photo didn't turn out.
Oh, that's all right. We had lifetimes of photos and TV stuff after that. And dear friends for the rest of her life. There is a very good biography of Carol Lindley called Carol Lindley, Lady in Peril, because she always looked so beautiful when she was screaming that she played roles where she was constantly being chased, murdered, tortured, kidnapped, whatever. And I wrote the foreword to that book, which was a privilege and a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Oh, anyway, so it has been a joy. After 10 years, we got there finally.
Well, let's not wait another 10 to do it again. If you get a guest who backs out and you need somebody to pinch hit, that I'll just give me a buzz. You can always find me on social media.
Please do. There is an open door. Anytime you want to bring all the stories, please do. We want all the gossip, all the tea.
Telethon this weekend coming.
I'll be at Telethon the weekend of October 22nd. Earth Telethon. I'm going to do a concert there at the Crown.
Ah, nice. Was there recently.
And hawk the book. And we'll see where I turn up next. I don't know. I hope I turn up somewhere. I keep saying, I want. Melbourne. You never know. If I could be one of those masked singers, I'd be for that.
Yeah.
Intent.
What about Celebrity Drag Race? Would you do a Celebrity Drag Race?
I'll do anything. I won't do the. I won't like jump out of a plane or get buried with snakes or eat worms. But I can dance. I can sing. I can. I just don't want to eat worms.
No Survivor.
Yeah. What would be your drag name if you're on?
Oh, do you have a rule about drag names? Is there like the street you live on or the middle name?
No. I like puns myself, but I don't care.
Oh, I'm trying to. My best friend came up with the best drag name. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got it. My drag name would be. You ready?
Yep.
Minivan rental.
Oh, brilliant. I love it.
That's a good one.
I love it because mine's rose color glasses. So I like a 3-word pun.
That's the thinking man's drag name.
That is, yes, I am. Well, I hope my humor is thinking man's humor. But anyways, as I say, it's been an absolute joy. Now, when you're on the plane on the way here, you can think about you are coming to a country that allows us two idiots to have a microphone. So you can reminisce about that. But anyways, where can people find you on the social medias?
So easy, at Nelson Aspen.
Yep.
I don't do Facebook, but Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and my website, nelsonaspen.com. I'm everywhere. Come find me.
Yep. And as I say, if you look up on YouTube, type in Nelson Aspen Sunrise, the amount of people that you have interviewed. So I hope I lived up to your legacy that you have laid out for people like me.
Yeah, now we get to interview you. Yeah.
I am so flattered, humbled. It was fun. It was super. So, thank you. It's nice to be an honorary Aussie when I meet Aussies like you.
Yes, that's it. No, anytime you are welcome. So, anyways, thank you so much for your
Yes.
time.
Thanks, guys. Good day.
To you at home, you take care, and we shall see you next time. Hooroo!
Thank you so much.
See ya.